Hello there, Laura Johnson along with you as we're here at the Midwest Ag Expo and with a WITY special video. And I have with me Mike Carroll from Eastern Illini Electric Cooperative. How are you doing today, sir?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Well, it's no surprise. It's winter, still chilly, better than what it was last year. I mean, we can at least be grateful for that. But hey, not only do you help take care of, energy for areas, especially rural areas, a little bit to the north of us, but you also try to maybe make some cost savings, perhaps, to make sure to get those bills down and to keep things efficient in the home. So we're going to talk a little bit about, starting off with insulation. And I mentioned, first thing is like, oh, this one's a mess. But then again, it's actually pretty good insulation despite that, too.
Yes. So what we're looking at here is a few different kinds of insulation. A lot of people have the fiberglass in their house. This is the most underperforming insulation, but the cheapest, so that's one of the reasons everybody makes that decision. What we try and do is just educate people at shows like this, making sure that they know that there's better options out there. The dense pack cellulose is a good option, and then this is a little bit higher R value, but more expensive as well. These two insulations will air seal and insulate, and the cotton candy effect or air leakage effect of fiberglass is why we don't recommend that.
Well, and even looking at this, it still stays pretty packed whenever, for example, if you are pulling a wall off to do any kind of renovation of sorts or surface remodel, then it needs to stay pretty packed in there until you touch it. So that's pretty nice. Question is about the foam insulation. How easy is that to put together and to remove if you are doing some sort of renovation project?
Well, the foam insulation doesn't actually fill up the cavities all the way, so it wouldn't touch the backside of your drywall. And with these two kinds of insulation, you want to make sure that the entire cavity is filled.
All right. So, and that's something that you guys can kind of help and give advice and, try to get this done so that way it's, it's done properly so it can, again, keep things insulated, keep things warm and save money.
Yes, comfort and money savings.
Well, I like those two things. Usually money savings does kind of mean a little bit of comfort as well. So not just along the walls. There's other ways that you can also save a little bit of money and keep things comfortable as well, too. So, I guess if you wanted to start off either maybe with the over here. Okay.
This is an example of what we're looking at in our attics. So a lot of people, again, have fiberglass, but if you look at the temperature displays here, you can see that there's a lot of heat that dissipates through the fiberglass and melts the snow off your roof. Thus, your furnace is going to run more, and so the cellulose product is going to keep that heat down where you're trying to condition that space, and you should have snow on your roof, which is a good thing.
And so whenever you're looking at this, whenever you're doing a fill for the, for essentially the attic area, it's not just above the ceiling. Is it something that you're actually putting into the walls and up to the top by the ceiling too?
Yeah, the difference between cellulose in your walls is that goes in at a dense pack or a wet, and that way it won't sink from your top plate. When we're talking about in the attic, it's just a loose fill on the floor of the attic. And about 12 to 14 inches should get you to what they recommend in this part of the country, which is an R50 in your attic.
Alrighty, which is very similar. You see a lot of older homes actually have this in already before they went to the fiberglass. I know I have it in my home, and it was built in '52, remodeled in the '70s, and so I see quite a bit of this actually into the attic of my home. But it's messy, but it is certainly efficient.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that is an older product, and nowadays the way that they make it is a lot better. It's mold and mildew resistant. Insects don't like it, and you can also add that on top of fiberglass if that's what you have in your attic already.
So I'm assuming if you're putting in insulation like this, you obviously can keep yourself protected and have something covered. And I know with the fiberglass, you probably better have some gloves on because it is fiberglass for a reason. I'm sure you do the same thing with the cellulose, right?
Yeah, and you can do some of this stuff yourself, and the proper protective equipment is important. Or you can have a contractor do it that does it every day and is used to those dangers.
Alrighty, so we've looked at the walls, we've looked at the ceiling. How about the floor? So basements, crawl spaces, those are definitely places that can cause a little bit of trouble too.
Yeah, what we're looking at down here is this first panel is called an insulated concrete form. So that gets put together kind of like Legos, and then they pour the concrete in the middle there, and then that all stays together, gives you insulation on the inside and on the outside. It makes for a very quiet home and a very low air leakage rate. But if you have an existing foundation or basement crawl space, then you can actually put in some foam board on the walls, and one of the most important areas is inside the rim joist. That's where we see a lot of heat loss with infrared cameras and stuff like that. So you can have a contractor come in, use the spray foam and fill these cavities, or you can do it yourself and cut the foam to size and then seal it around all the edges. So we like to focus on areas that you do have access to. The crawl space or basement is one of them, and that's what we're looking at here. Same thing with the attic that we just talked about. So you want to focus on the areas that you do have access to before you do your walls.
And so a lot of things, a lot of education. That's what you guys try to do over here at, between as part of the Touchstone Energy Cooperative. So you do multiple cooperatives. Eastern Illini is certainly no different. So education is certainly key to not just keeping things safe, keeping things cost effective, and it's helping energy. So we are always concerned about energy efficiency and continuing to do so and trying to find ways to cut those costs and keep things safe. And that's exactly what you do.
Yeah, and one of the other things that we like to talk about a lot is comfort too. A lot of people are uncomfortable in their house, and if they can save money and be comfortable at the same time and get longevity out of their systems, that's what the goal is.
All right, so if anybody has any questions on anything that we talked about today, or want to just basically get some other questions answered and how to keep things energy efficient, how can they contact you?
They can contact us by calling the direct line at the office. They can also email, or if they're members, and if you're a non-member, you can call us as well.
All right. Well, Mike, I definitely appreciate you talking with us and going through all this with us. It's great.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks. This is Mike Carroll from Eastern Illini Electric Cooperative for WITY. I'm Laura Johnson.